Yes, this is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
I had the best words. Tolerate it. I know words.
Mike Pounds.
I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation.
But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated.
One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
I had the best words.
God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Oh no, Sam Cedar! What a fucking nightmare!
Big massive dump.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here with you today. I don't know why I'm using that voice. I'm being ridiculous, but that's kind of mood I'm in. Ridiculous. So, hey, welcome to the show. We got a good one for you. We are going to talk about the heat dome that Americans in the Northwest, as well as Canadians, are currently baking under. And so, we're going to talk about that and how might be caused by climate change. And I say might by, and what I actually mean by that is it's definitely impacted and fueled by climate change. And it's actually going to get worse. So doom. Everyone doom. Anyway, so it's actually not too bad. It's about 80 degrees, Granny Dragon. It is very humid. It's been very, very stormy as of late. And so it's been stormy. Daniel's like, oh my God, why did I say that? That's like the worst. That is the worst joke. Terrible. What are you doing? Awful, awful, awful. I told you I was in a weird mood. All right. So anyway, yes, it's 95. Good Lord. 110. Oh my God, everybody. Okay, so I am going to talk about that. That's the latter half of the show. It's bad. It's bad out there. Not so much here, but it's bad out there, and I am totally with you. So, anyway, there's that. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about drunk Giuliani and Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. Den Crenshaw, just a couple of stories from yesterday I didn't get to because we had the excellent interview with Hey It's Vadim of the channel Hey It's Vadim. Formerly known as the Creationist Cat. Excellent. That was an excellent interview. And actually, I just want to announce, by the way, Vadim, we did it. You and I single-handedly saved Right Wing Watch. Yes. Update. I know y'all already know this because the news broke right soon after our show, by the way. YouTube, according to NBC News, said on Monday that it reinstated Right Wing Watch. Let me just say.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Amazing.
We got it. We did it. We saved Right Wing Watch, everybody. No, it's not just us, obviously. YouTube says, oh, it was mistakenly suspended. We made a mistake, big mistake. Our bad, y'all. Even though we gave them a ton of strikes, and then, and then had a human go and allegedly a human go and suspend this channel. Oh, we made a mistake. Sorry. Wasn't our fault. Oops. Our bad. No, you know what it was? It was you guys. It was everybody who was tweeting. It was everybody who was talking about this, putting the heat on YouTube, on Google, specifically your alphabet, and saying, hey, this is not a hate site. It fights hate. And it does so through videos. Through just showing people and being an enormous resource to the left, and being able to point out the hideous things that Republicans, that the right wing, that the far right loves to say, and would normally get away with it if nobody called them out. And so, it's great that they're back. I don't buy it at all. That, oh no, we have so many, we have so many channels. We have so many uploads. Now that's true. That's true. There's a lot of uploads going. I mean, I put up roughly about 4 to 6 videos a day. And that's just me. You got bigger channels that are putting out 20 videos from like all different creators, and you got, it's the sheer volume of things, of videos that go up on YouTube alone is astronomical. Huge. But so I understand that okay, we're going to automate some of this stuff, but there's no way. There's no way. They did, again, it came a human reviewer said that we found that this content to be objectionable, and so we removed it. Not buying it at all. But I'm glad they're back. And what's funny is that you had the right-wingers. You had Tim Pool, the usual suspects, right? Tim Pool, the Quartering, all coming out there with videos like, oh, lefties, this is what you get for calling for censorship. Ha ha. Reap what you sow. Well, not really, because all what we're doing is just reposting videos of what people like you were saying. Maybe the problem is with you and the stuff that you post that is super hateful. So it's just really funny to point that out. But anyway, I don't imagine YT actually reviews much. I don't know the conditions inside of YouTube. Let's be fair. I'm pretty sure they contract a lot of work. But at the same time, you can't say that we have human reviewers and then not have human reviewers, and because you're going to end up with many fails like this. And again, Vadim and I talked about this yesterday about his channel being hit with these strikes and the inconsistency of this, as well as again, Surf's being hit with this stuff, and other channels being hit with either demonetizations, which happened all across the board, as well as videos being pulled out for hate speech. So the Quartering fail was funny. True. Fastest turnaround I've ever seen. He puts out a video and immediately, probably about a half hour later, they're like, well, looks like we reversed it. Oops. Oof size. Okay. Anyway. Let's move on here. It's called summer. Suck it up. Ah, yes. We have one of those people in the chat. Welcome. I hope you're ready for some facts. It'll blow your mind what's actually happening with climate change. I know. Strange. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Let's actually get into some of the stories that we want to talk about. Let's do it. Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, is known for a lot of things. For example, butt dialing reporters, which is always fun. On multiple occasions, by the way. Audibly farting in the middle of a court case. Yes. Melting down, literally like his hair melting in front of everybody. And apparently being just a sloppy drunk. And again, this is not just me saying this. This is, of course, a lot of people are saying this. Okay. But now apparently he is becoming known as one of the people who happened to endanger our friend
Mike Pounds.
How is that? Well, let me go to a report here from Landslide. This report here talking about an excerpt of the book Landslide. So now this is written by Michael Wolff, and basically it talked about how Giuliani, who was perpetually drunk for like the entire thing, he's probably not even going to remember, right, anything that's happened during like the last 4 years. This guy apparently convinced Donald Trump. He was the guy that said, "Oh, hey, Trump, that certification? You know who could stop that? Mike Pence." Oh, really? New York Magazine published an excerpt from Wolff's upcoming book, which confirms that the final months of Trump's presidency were filled with unhinged political strategies and a complete lack of understanding of how American democracy actually works. Now, of course, we don't live in an actual democracy. As I pointed out on Twitter, we actually live in something called let me just pull this up so I can remember. Okay, we live in a system of representative capitalism. Okay, and mainly the people with the money get represented the most. That's how I feel about this, and I don't think a lot of you would disagree that that's the kind of system that we live in. Nonetheless, there are vestiges of democracy where we do get to vote, and overwhelmingly the American people chose not to vote for Donald Trump. Shocker, right? Especially since he bungled coronavirus. But all right, now according to Wolff, going back to this, the then president had all been abandoned by that time by his closest advisors in the final days, in the sunset of the Trump presidency, with the exception of Fartin' Rudy, who was apparently, quote, drinking heavily and in a constant state of excitation, often almost incoherent in his agitation and mania. Wow. Almost everyone who remained around the president understood that he, along with Giuliani, did in fact believe that there was yet a decent chance of upsetting the electoral count and having Trump declared the Electoral College winner, or failing that, prolonging the election and returning the fight to disputed states. Now remember, afterwards, after all this happened, Giuliani went on to challenge this in court 60 times, at least, with no evidence. No evidence whatsoever. Just laughed out of court, even by Trump appointees, Trump judges. They're like, you don't have anything. What are you doing here? What is your problem? Why do you waste our time? Why are you wasting our money? Why is this such a waste? Stop. Go home. And after 60 times, they were forced to go home. Because there was no chance left, and there never was. Oh, 64 losses and 1 win. Oh, right. And that win, remember, that was on a technicality about, what was it, post-dated. This is in Pennsylvania. Post-dated ballots. They got the win on the technicality. But then again, 64 losses. They got crushed. They got creamed in court. Creamed court, everybody. Disaster. Sad. What a losing reputation, by the way. Giuliani, if he wasn't smashed all the time, he would be incredibly embarrassed. And yes, it was a handful of votes as well. So, I mean, come on. Now, the president's aide and family apparently understood that he was the only one, along with Giuliani, in any professional political sphere, to believe that Mike Pence could actually go back and make it so that Donald Trump could walk away in the election. There is no question, none at all, that the VP could do this. That's a fact, Giuliani said. The Constitution gives him the authority not to certify. It goes back to the state legislatures. Again, that's what he said ad nauseum. And of course, none of it was true. Disastrous. Fail. Sad. Mike Pence has no authority under the Constitution to reject the certification or delay. It's a ceremonial thing. That's really all it is. He comes in, he says, okay, the election has been certified. And then he goes home. And that's it. These lies and the obvious misunderstanding of the law is why New York City will no longer allow Giuliani to practice law. This is it. I mean, I'm guessing, as well as the fact that Giuliani makes everybody in New York look bad. And I love people in New York. And I have friends in New York. And they don't reflect what Giuliani is. But since he was mayor of New York at one time and was America's mayor, well, I mean, you know, it makes... let me go back and say that it actually makes the people who allowed him to be a lawyer for so long look really bad. Not to mention the fact that, of course, this put Mike Pence's life in jeopardy. I don't really care about Mike Pence. He's not a good guy. He's a terrible guy. But that doesn't mean I want to see the guy killed by an unhinged MAGA mob. And as much as he tries to, of course, by the way, distance himself from Trump now, as well as rehabilitate his own image, possibly because maybe he wants to get himself into power, we should never forget that he was the person that stood behind Trump the entire way, the entire time, and enabled him. That said, that is not worthy of being basically, I'm not going to use that term, but assaulted by an angry Trump mob. So, and again, these people were screaming, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence. And by the way, Donald Trump has never corrected this misinformation about what, Pence was able to do. Neither has Rudy Giuliani. And guess what? They never will. They never will. They are focused solely on perpetuating a lie that has ripped our country apart. As a result of this blatant rejection of complete reality, some 56% of Republicans, and this is a poll that was taken a couple months ago, so maybe the numbers have changed. But a majority of Republicans, over half, believe that the election was either rigged or the result of illegal voting, and 53% still believe that Donald Trump is the actual president of the United States. Insane. Insane. This, just like Rudy Giuliani's liver, not healthy and destined to fail. Good Lord. Okay, moving on. Mike Pence is also not worthy of being politically rehabilitated. Just retire from politics, take a middle to low class job, lifting bricks at a garden store. You know what? Oh man. So okay, I am of the working class. So originally I was going to say something like, "Well, send the guy to work at fast food," but then I don't want to burden the fast food workers, his co-workers, and having to work with Mike Pence. Blah. Awful. Awful. I respect people who work those jobs. I respect people who work at grocery store jobs. I think that people should get paid better. I think that, of course, Mike Pence should be, I don't know. We should, I don't know where to send him, honestly. Where does he go? Where should he go? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. Where do you want to send Mike Pence? It's an open question. All right, anyway, let's move on. Let's go to cancel culture. Republicans love canceling people. Live with Mike Pillow. Or live with Mike Pillow. Oh, but would mother allow it? Woozle? I don't think so. Again, you have to get mother's permission. Without mother, well, it's just a no. Okay. Anyway. I told you I'm in a weird mood today. Cancel culture. Okay. Texas Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw apparently loves cancel culture. So now he's supposedly, what are you talking about? He's supposed to be one of those anti-cancel culture warriors, but you're going to see in this next video, this is from Fox and Friends on Monday. Dan Crenshaw is all about canceling Gwen Berries, who is a track athlete on the United States Olympic team. So he's going to make the argument that because she's on the Olympic team and quote unquote represents the United States, that if she doesn't bow to the anthem or anything like that, or you know, that she should be canceled and removed. Take a look.
She turned her back on the flag during the anthem, and she also put a black T-shirt over her face that said, activist athlete.
We don't need any more activist athletes. You know, she should be removed from the team. The entire point of the Olympic team is to represent the United States of America. That's the entire point. Okay, so, you know, it's one thing when these NBA players do it. Okay, fine, we'll just stop watching. But now the Olympic team, and it's multiple cases of this, they should be removed.
They should be removed. Cancel culture. I love this. Okay, so, oh man, we don't need activist athletes. Okay, what about Tom Brady? He's an activist athlete. Anytime that a right-wing athlete comes around and says right-wing positions, or an actor or anything, right-wing media is beside themselves. They can't help but worship at the feet of quote-unquote Hollywood, but Hollywood conservatives. And it just shows that they're, you know, the only thing that they're impressed with is celebrity status and money. And that's really what it is. And they're mad and they're salty. They're always so salty at Hollywood because, well, because Hollywood doesn't always back them. And so it's one of those things where they're sort of jealous in a way. But anyway, all right. There's more. Here's what he said. This is the pathology that occurs when we're teaching critical race theory in our institutions, because critical race theory, again, basically teaches that our institutions are racist, that our systems are deeply racist. Full stop. True. Our institutions are racist. Yes, they are. They were set up at a time where black people were excluded. Let me give you an example. The GI Bill, right? So the GI Bill, everybody knows the GI Bill as after the war, after World War II, our troops were able to come home and the government said, well, why don't we give you an education? Why don't we pay for your education? And it was a massive boon to people coming home and retraining and reintegrating into society. Wonderful program. Now, that's what we're taught. But what critical race theory shows is that, oh, there was a group of soldiers that was left out of the GI Bill. Black soldiers. They were not given GI Bill benefits. They were not allowed to go back to school and get paid for it, even though they served in the military alongside of their white counterparts. That's what critical race theory teaches people. The truth about race in this country. Now, you would only be uncomfortable with learning about the truth if it makes you look bad, if it makes your side look bad. And so these people, they're so wrapped up in nationalism and flag waving, and a lot of it's armchair flag waving, by the way. They're so caught up with this that anything that maybe points out that, hey, look, we haven't been cool in the past. We're still not good today, because a lot of those institutions still exist today, and a lot of those inequities still exist. We're not the number one country in the world. They can't handle it. They can't hear it. And of course, there are some people that know that these inequities still exist, and they support the inequities. So I'm just saying, that's critical race theory. But again, he's basically talking out of his ass, Mr. Crenshaw. Here's what he said, quote, "You can't see the racism because it's subtle, and if you deny it, it's because you teaching people this constantly, and this is what it results in these displays of hatred towards our own country, and it's got to stop." So wait, turning your back on the flag during the national anthem, and by the way, I believe Gwen Berry said something along the lines of, well, look, this country has not fulfilled its promises. And so that's why I feel uncomfortable venerating and celebrating that. And I agree. I don't think we've lived up to the promise of America at all. I think we have a lot to do. But I think this country also has great potential to do amazing, wonderful things. But in order to do those things, we actually have to, for one, chart a good path to the future, a progressive, sustainable path that ensures true equality for everyone. And also, part of that is looking to the past and dismantling those institutions that are inherently racist, that do keep people from being able to achieve that equality. Again, there are people that benefit from those racist institutions, that continue to benefit from these institutions. And look, a lot of us, to some extent, as white people, have benefited from some of these institutions. That doesn't mean that we're necessarily complicit. That doesn't mean that we should feel guilty about this. What it means is that once we understand that, oh, right, we have benefited from this, but other people have been hurt by this, well, maybe we should work to change it. And that's what, again, critical race theory is kind of all about, to teach people those inequities and those systems so that people will make the conscious choice to be able to dismantle those systems of classical oppression. But again, the people who actually benefit from these systems and were able to attain levels of wealth and power through that system don't want that to happen. So understand that this is where these people are coming from. Okay? So now, I have some responses on Twitter for, just to kind of round out this segment here. One person, Jake Loven, says, Dan Crenshaw and Brian Kilmeade are more upset at Gwen Berry for turning away from the flag than when terrorists use it as a weapon to beat Capitol police officers. Ooh, damn. Brian Schott says, Dan Crenshaw, who wants to cancel Gwen Berry over a political protest, once wrote a book about why cancel culture is bad. Ah, yes. I should think that I have made the case sufficiently in this show in the last few months that Republicans never cared about cancel culture. In fact, Republicans are the OG cancel culture warriors. All the way back in the past, you look at things that have been quote unquote canceled, usually it's conservatives. They tried to cancel rock music. They tried to cancel video games, or violent video games, violent movies. They tried to cancel Harry Potter. On and on and on. They are the kings of cancel culture. The only problem is now they've been able to successfully weaponize it for their own gains and have once again tried to project it on the left, as they do with many of the horrific positions that they believe in. Yes, they also tried to cancel Dungeons and Dragons. True. Very true. All right. We got more. Let's see. I am white, but where my government has not treated my fellow Americans as they should have been treated, maybe my government should compensate my fellow Americans. That's the attitude. I love it. Yes, we should. We should. And the first thing is remove those barriers. Let's see. I'm Christina. Thank you for subscribing to get tier 1. Everybody, go give Christina a follow. She does politics as well as makeup tutorials. So she's incredibly based. Please follow her channel. Help her out. She's trying to get her channel off the ground, and does excellent commentary, especially on the left. And so everybody check her out. All right. With that, let's dive in to the next story. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently responded to Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, during a Trump rally, which, by the way, ended up being incredibly sad. There's video of Trump supporters literally walking away from this rally because they were tired of what he's had to say. But during that rally, Marjorie Taylor Greene did speak, and she talked about AOC, which she has a very, very unhealthy fixation with, and I should say. But Greene had apparently attacked the Democratic Congresswoman as she warmed up the crowd at an Ohio rally on Saturday. Let's take a look at that.
Led by AOC, the little communist from New York City. That's right. Yeah, lock her up too. That's a good idea. She's not an American. She really doesn't embrace our American ways. You want to know why? She has something called the Green New Deal.
She's a communist, and we should lock her up. Oh, okay. So we're at the point of where now, once again, the right wing is talking about the ultimate cancel culture, throwing political opponents in jail. This is where the Republican Party is at this point. Oh, yeah, I don't agree with her politically. Let's throw her in prison. Okay. Yeah, and by the way, that was the crowd that was saying that. The same kind of crowds that were, once again, going back to Hillary Clinton, lock her up. Same people, same crowd, same horrible people, and ridiculous ideology that really paints the other half of America, the ones who don't vote for Republicans, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, as quote-unquote the enemy. Yeah. And by the way, she's not a communist, but once again, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene throwing out labels like communist or socialist, whatever, to people that she does not like. That is a tried and true conservative tactic. Look, AOC she's a social democrat. Along the lines of one of the most popular presidents in history, FDR. So, I'm just saying. But all right. But hey, oh no, she's not American, so says Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she believes in the Green New Deal. What does that have to do with not being American? Don't you think that it would be a good thing to make sure that the environment of America or of the United States is clean? And that the United States being energy independent and not having to import oil from other countries in order to, run our infrastructure and economy, that's also would be a good thing. Don't you think that, millions of additional good paying jobs in clean energy would be a good thing? Here's the thing. Like most things conservatives hate and rage about, they have no idea what it is. Again, with the aforementioned calling everybody she doesn't agree with a communist. In fact, the framework of the Green New Deal has 5 goals. And by the way, this was a resolution passed in the House by House Democrats. And so it's a non-binding resolution and generally a framework of what, progressives in Congress would like to see. And they would like to see, over 10 years, a net zero greenhouse gas emissions through a fair and just transition for all communities and workers. Create millions of good high-wage jobs and ensure prosperity and economic security for all people in the United States. Invest in the infrastructure and industry of the United States to sustainably meet the challenges of the 21st century. Secure for all people of the United States for generations to come. Clean air and water. Climate and community resiliency. Healthy food. Access to nature. And a sustainable environment. Promote justice and equity by stopping current, preventing future, and repairing historic oppression of indigenous peoples, communities of color, migrant communities, deindustrialized communities, depopulated rural communities, the poor, low-income workers, women, the elderly, the unhoused, people with disabilities, and youth, frontline, and vulnerable communities. So now, obviously, that last part, I know Republicans despise. Because they're like, other communities, why would I care? Why should I care about them? I don't care about them. Poor people? Low-income women? The elderly? No. We only like the wealthy elderly. Like the Koch brothers or a Koch brother. Yeah, we love them. The unhoused or the homeless people, no, we hate them. We hate them. So now, if you know about the Green New Deal and what its goals are, and this is what I'm trying to say, but you're still against it, then you're a terrible person. Especially, again, if it's based on that last goal. Now, AOC had a very simple response to this. And again, this is somebody who had been stalked by this insane, crazy person. Okay, here's what she said. Quote, first of all, I'm taller than her. What else do you have to say? Well, what else can you say, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene is not a serious person. She is a stalker. She is a troll who says that we should lock up political opponents. The only thing that you should take seriously about Marjorie Taylor Greene is the harm that she is doing to this country with her fascist rhetoric. And Trash G wishes she had recorded the presence of AOC. She sees envy and jealousy. Mad, quite literally. AOC actually has a job to do, and it's revered for standing up for something. Yes, she has, Marjorie Taylor Greene has no committee assignments. She got nothing. She got all this time to sit there and troll everybody. Jesus. By the way, thank you for popping in, Tiffany Star. Go check her out. She's based. Especially if you like video games and rage segments about conservatives. Whatnot. All right. Let's go on. Let's see. Let me actually take a quick break. I'm gonna take a break. We're gonna go to the melting that is happening in the Pacific Northwest, and how, of course, that's related to climate change. At times. So, Doom, put on your Doom hat. I just invented the thing. It's called the Doom hat. Put it on and buckle your seatbelts. We'll be back in a minute. Around the Nation.
Wet ass P word.
Why, you're getting nervous, man.
Mike Pounds.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Round the Nation, right here, Wallach Nation. So let's go in here and see if there's any super chats. LL says, watching the world burn to own the libs. True. Everything is on fire and it's terrible. Before I get into this segment, I just wanted to read this tweet, which is kind of a propos. Okay. Not a Wolf says, sure, the state I live in is experiencing historically dangerous wildfire conditions, but at least there's not some sort of explosion-centric holiday coming up. Well, I mean, damn. That's pretty good. Wow. That is both hilarious and also incredibly worrying, because if it's one thing Americans love, North America, not including Canada, excluding Canada, okay, it's blowing shit up. Uniquely American, which in these conditions, probably not a good idea, not a good thing. I want to start by saying the election was pure as wind-driven snow. There wasn't a smidgen of fraud. Actually, there was fraud. Every election has handfuls of fraud. There are people I've documented, by the way, in the show. I've talked about the few instances that they did find that that there was fraud. Mainly it was Trump voters who did the fraud, but it wasn't widespread like the conspiracies would want you to believe. So, no, not millions of votes. A handful. The millions of millions. No, it's not. Guacamole, dude. Like, here's the thing. I'm glad you're here. Actually, I'm really happy that you showed up, because that's the thing. Like, you're being lied to by conservative media. Like, it's not even about conservative versus liberal media. It's about facts versus not facts. No, you're in denial. This is projection, dude. A projection, my friend. Facts matter. He did not win. He did really well, comparatively, but he didn't win. And you don't have any evidence to prove that. Nothing that's concrete. Nothing that would go through a courtroom. And you can sit there and you can deny it all day long, but it doesn't make it true. I feel for you, bro. I feel for you, buddy. I understand. You're mad. You're sad. You're upset. I get it. I understand. The cope is strong. But you have to get back to reality. You have to get back. The Arizona audit is a clown show. Do you even know what's happening there? I've reported on this. Look into what's actually happening with the Arizona ballot. You guys, you got people out there looking for bamboo and ballots. That's crazy. He didn't win, bro. He didn't win. Y'all, you gotta stop. Help yourself. Help yourself. Accept reality. Come back. Come back to us. Come back. No, I'm not afraid of the audit at all. The audit's a clown show. I've looked into this. I have. I did do it. Again, it's not. Okay. The Arizona recount election has not shown any evidence of whatever you're alleging. Bamboo ballots, massive voter fraud. The audit will not show. Actually, the audit will show the truth that nothing happened. because it hasn't shown anything demonstrably true. My friend, you'll figure it out. Besides, it's been over 6 months and there's still no concrete evidence. What do you do? Anyway, I got stories to get to, important stuff like climate change and the end of civilization. So, you'll be back. You'll be back. All right. If you haven't noticed, the Pacific Northwest is under a massive heat wave. Heat dome. People are, well, it's hot. Let's just say that. People are saying that it's hot. Now, according to reports, a region from California to Canada's British Columbia recently saw record-breaking temperatures over the weekend as a result of the heat dome. Now, dozens of daily record-high temperatures were broken on Saturday in states ranging from Washington to California. Further north, the heat wave set a national record in Canada on Sunday. So, Canada, there's a small town in a village in British Columbia, Lytton. I don't know if I said that right. Lytton, they hit roughly 115 degrees Fahrenheit or 46.1 degrees Celsius. That's hot. Not good. It beat the country's previous all-time high of 113 degrees Fahrenheit set back in 1937, according to the Environment and Climate Change Canada. Portland on Sunday reached a new high of 112 degrees Fahrenheit, and as a result of the relentless 1 in 1,000 year heat, infrastructure from schools, streets to air conditioning, and the power grid is really struggling. There is infrastructure outside that's actually literally starting to melt. Now, normally, the Pacific Northwest is fairly moderate. However, the temperature's there. However, sometimes you have these massive heat domes like this, and let's just say that while this is bad, it's only the beginning of bad. And that, of course, puts people in danger. Mainly, of course, people who are homeless, unhoused, elderly people, children. They're all at risk in these temperatures. Now, obviously, the safest place to be is inside your house with air conditioning. Unfortunately, most people don't have air conditioning, and even if they do, understand that this increased need for electricity to run air conditioners is going to put massive stress on a grid that is already kind of melting. And so this isn't good. Now, as of right now, more than half of all homes in Seattle, as a result of the more milder temperatures there, are not outfitted with cooling technology at all. In fact, Vivek Chandas, a professor of climate adaptation at Portland State University, wrote this: "Currently, we have a relatively limited incorporation of cooling technologies in Pacific Northwest households. While most commercial buildings and businesses do have them, people don't generally sleep in those spaces. Oh, generally. Households in Seattle have about 30% central AC. In Portland, it is about 60%, with rural areas having far less. Those with pre-existing health conditions, older adults, anybody living in apartment complexes are also very vulnerable to this heat. And of course, at night, there's no relief. Higher temperatures are persisting overnight in the region. Again, by 8 a.m. Monday morning, it was already 90 degrees Fahrenheit in Seattle. That's disastrous. That is hot. Now, as a result, of course, you have people going to hotel rooms in search of relief. But of course, there's only so many of those. Also, you have people that are not able to afford those, particularly in vulnerable communities. They might not be able to afford it, or they might not have transportation. They might not have public transportation. And so these vulnerable populations, well, I mean, they're facing a lot of trouble. Cities are also opening more public cooling centers, but like anything, capacity is limited. Another option, of course, is to buy air conditioners if you can still find them. Salem, for example, ran out of AC units to buy before the heat wave even began. The procurement and use of cooling technologies, said Shandas, are generally expensive, and even if people are able to purchase them, running them is also expensive, which is cost prohibitive for those who are struggling with bills. And again, as I mentioned, the grid is buckling under the heat wave. On Sunday, Portland was forced to suspend its streetcar service because the searing temperatures melted the power cables. So no public transportation for the people who depend on it. Additionally, people who use older cars, for example, they might have some trouble driving around in an older vehicle that might overheat. And often communities with older or vulnerable engines may not be able to find cooling resources, such as cooling centers, that happen to be far from their home and away from public transit. Power grids, said Shandas, are designed around historical norms, and when we get these abnormal temperatures, the strain in the grid is unprecedented. And of course, this isn't the first time we've talked about strain in the grid. This isn't the first time we've talked about, generally fossil fuel. And I say generally fossil fuel in the case of, like, for example, Texas, where a freak snowstorm, as a result of course, weather instability due to climate change, has, shut down the grid. A grid that, an infrastructure that was not prepared for this. And that's really the big deal. That's the big thing. We have infrastructure right now that's not ready for this stuff. That's not ready for these massive swings in temperatures, abnormal temperatures. Seattle, again, I would say it's a fairly progressive city, but even they're not prepared. Big problem. In fact, Shandas noted that a dozen power outages had occurred in the Northwest amid the heat wave, and these shutoffs then create, quote, potential impacts on accessing cooling resources, particularly at night when people are most vulnerable to urban heat. In Lighton, going back to that small village, they ended up shuttering about 15 school districts that canceled full days of elementary school because they didn't have the resources, they weren't, and the infrastructure to be able to keep the students cool enough to learn. So that's a huge problem. Okay, so this is bad. It's real bad. But to those of us paying attention to the climate crisis, it's not really that much of a surprise. Climate scientists have been warning us for decades that heat waves would begin affecting traditionally cooler places, thanks to the changing climate. Now, they're here. They're here, and that infrastructure is melting. And unfortunately, needs upgrades in these areas that normal, regular people didn't expect, but the climate scientists have, and we're screaming about. Again, they're saying, please do something about climate change. And if you're not going to do anything about climate change, then maybe we should upgrade our infrastructure to handle these wild swings. This is one of the things that they failed to do in Texas. And also, to an extent, failed to do in California. Although the California fails, people lost power for about 2 hours, I think, at most. In Texas, I think it was over a week, at least. So it was bad in Texas, where they had deregulation, where they decided not to upgrade their infrastructure. And so now this is happening again in Seattle, which was not able to upgrade their infrastructure for these kinds of wild heat wave, temperature swings. Now, Shandas has a couple of suggestions for short term to help the people on the ground. He said, first, we need to get people cooling resources, whether that be accessing cooling centers, AC technologies, including batteries based on solar, which I think is smart, and people to become more familiar with what is vulnerable near their homes. Medium longer term, we need to prioritize historically marginalized populations and funding cooling systems, including the creation of codes that require developers to install cooling technologies into affordable buildings. Obviously, you have to expand on that by adding, electricity, school systems, infrastructure, has to be overhauled, but also has to be made sustainable. Right now, our infrastructure, okay, Congress right now is talking about an infrastructure bill. They're quote unquote debating. Republicans, of course, don't want to do an infrastructure bill. They've decided to block it. And so there's going to have to be a budget reconciliation bill, which the last I've heard, Joe Manchin is actually okay with now. And so apparently he has switched on that position. But the infrastructure plan that I have talked about, that was supposed to be bipartisan, obviously did not go far enough. And what we need to do is invest a lot more, because right now our infrastructure is a C-, grade from the American Society for Civil Engineers. It's a disaster. And that's even accounting, before accounting for the climate crisis putting further stress on it. Things have to change, because right now, if they don't, things are going to get worse. This is not a once-in-a-lifetime event, says Deepti Singh, assistant professor at Washington State. These are conditions that are likely to recur potentially quite frequently in our near future because of increasing global warming. So our infrastructure development needs to account for the changing climate conditions of our communities. Public officials, as well as we as individuals, need to be prepared to cope with severe heat waves and other impacts of climate change that we are currently vulnerable to. Again, all of this, I think, could have been avoided had we taken climate change seriously 20 years ago, or when scientists were first clamoring about it back in the 60s, and even further. Remember, you had ExxonMobil. Unfortunately, this is one of the reasons that we haven't. You had ExxonMobil, whose scientists knew about this. I believe it was back in either the 60s or the 80s. A long time ago. They knew about climate change, and they decided, we're not going to do anything about it because we're going to lose profit. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in, we're going to fund a bunch of think tanks, and we're going to muddy the water around climate change. Meaning that we're going to put out disinformation or misinformation. We're going to say, well, we're just asking questions, and then we're going to make it so that the world is, or the United States, I should say, is perpetually trapped in debate while we continue to burn fossil fuels and make billions of dollars in profits while they do that. Not only that, but we're also going to buy out politicians, obviously, and influence the political system into not getting off of fossil fuels. And not only that, but also punishing technologies that are green. So, look, that's the situation here, okay? And right now, their efforts have been incredibly successful. Half of Congress is owned by fossil fuel corporations. And by the way, a lot of Congress is ancient. They'll be dead in 10 years. They'll be dead before things get so bad that, I mean, let's just say there's a dearth of terrible things that are on on the pipe, right? They're on the pipeline. They're coming our way, and we can see them. Mass immigration, water wars, more extreme temperatures and extreme storms, crop failures, food shortages. You can go on. Rising sea levels, causing all of those different problems. All that stuff's coming down the pike right now. But a lot of the people that are making the decisions right now in this country aren't going to be around by the time this stuff hits. That's horrifying. And by the way, that's, the Republican Party essentially, right? But that doesn't mean the Democrats aren't also complicit in this. Again, one half is horrible and doesn't care at all about climate change or doing anything about it. But then you have the Democrats who refuse to take a hard line on this and fight as if our existence depends on it, because it does. All they did, at least before his push, BS bipartisan bills like Biden's infrastructure plan that would have actually privatized public assets and invested in fossil fuels, alongside, of course, some alternative energy solar energy and things like that, EV investments, still would have also given money to fossil fuel corporations. No, we have to do better. We have to do way better. We have to take a hard stand. We actually have to sort of act like Republicans in a way, like they have in Congress, and stonewall and fight and fight and fight and be obstinate, because society depends on it. Life on Earth depends on it. Civilization depends on it. And so, watch out. If you think this is bad, this heat dome that's happening right now, just wait, because this is already becoming, it's going to become our new normal. Okay. Jesus. Okay, guys, I'm going to get stoned and play Warzone. You know what? It's probably the right decision. Maybe we do not deserve this planet. Well, you know what? I still got to live here, Cora. So, yes, I am going to fight like hell to stay alive. Because that's just me. I ain't going to quit. I'm too legit. Can't quit. My kids and grandkids, I'll be dead then. Good luck, humanity. Oh, I tell you. All right. They think they're going to Mars. Well, Jeff Bezos is going to try. That's for sure. And Elon Musk. So, Doom hat, everybody. I told you it was Doom. We're going to have to save the last story that I have here for tomorrow, as well as excitement story or announcement. Excitement announcement. There we go. We'll do that. Okay. With that, thank you all for going around the nation today. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very helpful if you do so. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Or, sub to us on Twitch. Bezos bucks. We'll definitely take your Bezos bucks. He don't need them. And that's, of course, if you have Prime subscription, you can sign up for free. You can support our channel for free. It doesn't cost you anything extra. And so that's good. Let's see. Joe Shalom says, how do you feel about Olympic athletes protesting the national anthem? Totally fine with it. I thought this was America, Joe. I thought we had freedom of speech. LOL says, at this point, there's nothing productive in ruminating over Trump. You need to move on with your life, just like you told us to do when Hillary lost. I don't know whose message that is for, or who that message is for, but like, I'm pretty sure it had to do with the guy who's like, oh, Trump won. Maybe maybe it was a mistake to argue with him for like 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes I'm never gonna get back. But like, okay, people got to see reality, and it just shows you, by the way, how they're really holding on to that cope. It's the hopium and the copium combined, and it's not good. It's not good. All right. Anyway, not good at all. We're gonna raid left flank vets on Twitch. Need to slow down. So we're gonna give them a raid here on Twitch. So everybody check them out. Based. And yeah, all that stuff. Thank you, everybody. Love you, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody. Have a good one.
Amazing. Please clap. They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.